This is UNG Nighthawks All-Access. Hello everybody, Craig Corbin, and welcome to another episode as we visit with student athletes, with coaches, with staff, all who make it happen right here in Dahlonega with athletics at UNG. Our guest today, assistant men's soccer coach, Avram Allen. Coach, yes. Good to see you.
Good to see you again, as always.
Absolutely, and of course we are here in one of the finest soccer complexes in the Peach Belt Conference, even beyond the conference.
Yes, I'd have to agree with that.
Before we get into your story, let's talk a little bit about the facility,
of course,
and how things have changed. This is your 6th year here at North Georgia as an assistant coach. Talk about the facility that you get to utilize here.
For me, it's definitely a special experience. I played here back in 07, 08, and none of this was here. When I played here, believe it or not, it's crazy. Coach Parrish showed me pictures of our field, and I said that wasn't the field I played on. Right? Whenever you look back, you think, you're like, it was nice, it was even, and he showed me it looked like a cow pasture then, and back in the good old days, we're out here picking up rocks and and he reminded me of a lot of those stories, and I was like, that is not our field. There was 2 bleachers right over here, the tables, sit the speakers up, old school way, and then now, every time I walk down here, or I pull down this drive and I see this view and I see this beautiful pitch, it is amazing every day. It never gets old. What
a phenomenal blessing. And from a recruiting standpoint, I would assume that this is a plus.
Oh my goodness, a big time plus. Big time plus. And the beautiful thing about it is only getting better.
Right.
Every time it's amazing. The boys come down, they look at it, and they still remind us of how beautiful the pitch is. And when recruits get here, they say the pictures don't do it justice of the facility. So I would have to say this is one of the nicest facilities, Division II in the country.
I love it.
And as well, want to shout out to the Cottrell's scoreboard here. Unbelievable. We look every day. I come down and I say I cannot believe that it's here. So we're forever grateful to them. And providing that, when that's going to be a massive plus as well for the recruits.
What a wonderful segue, and you literally took my next question, because when we started the season of All Access with Coach Parrish, that was not here.
No.
And so since then, a phenomenal addition, and talk about how that impacts the game day experience for not only the players, but the fans.
Of course, there's so many different things being told to us that you can do interactive-wise, right? As far as having bios, headshots up there. We already have the players asking about celebrations, and is there going to be zoom ups on my face when I'm scoring goals? And we're obviously saying you have to put the ball in the back of the net first, but all those are already being asked, and different ideas for the fans to see goals being scored there and excellent plays happening. So engagement wise, which the fans are great anyway, it's just another plus as well to hopefully give them an awesome game day experience.
Absolutely. Now, when we visited with Coach Parrish, we were in the season. We are now past this season, and as always, Peach Belt Conference, very competitive, and this season certainly no exception to that.
Yeah, no exception whatsoever. Always going to be a competitive conference, one of the toughest in the country, which is great for us because that's what recruits want. They want to be challenged. They want to play the top 25 teams, and it's one of those scenarios. It's a battle. Every single game's a battle. There is no easy game. From top to bottom, we know going into it, it's going to be a battle. That's what we enjoy as well.
Absolutely. Now, any matches throughout the season that stand out as highlights from your perspective?
Of course, the big one always is Young Harris.
Right.
It's always going to be a highlighted match, whether you want to try and live down the hype, to try and put it down. It's never going to be lived down because it is what it is. It's something special. Every time we get to play the school 40 miles over the mountain, and it was a disheartening loss with 6 seconds left, first overtime, and it's a scenario mental lapse, but what a battle the boys went out, competed against a top team in the country yet again, and just showing the resilience of what we're trying to do here to compete with anybody.
Without question. Now, you've offered yet another wonderful segue when you mentioned Young Harris. You personally have more experience between the two institutions
Yes.
than anybody associated with the
Yes.
program. As a competitor, played for both,
Yes.
and as a coach, have coached for both.
Yes.
Walk us through that whole story.
Very interesting. It is very interesting. Actually got some insight that the position was opening up. Well, my apologies, let me start back. Played at Young Harris coming out of high school.
Right.
Back then they were a junior college. But from there, Mark McKeever was the coach there as well. I was his first recruit at Young Harris and explained to me his vision and everything there, and got to play there. Wonderful environment, wonderful experience. Have nothing bad to say about the program as far as now as a coach, maybe different, but as a player, I enjoyed it there. I enjoyed the culture there. It was fantastic. And you can see where the vision was going then. Then came here in 07 to play for Coach Paris.
Right.
I was his first recruit as well. So enjoyed the culture, enjoyed Coach Paris from the start. And when I came out here, I was like, man, I want to play for this guy. When I got to meet him and his vision as well, you could see where he was going, and it was clear, and it was like, man, I want to roll with this. So it was awesome to come play for Coach Paris. And then from there, I got my first opportunity to be an assistant coach on the women's side after I did my whole GA stint here at North Georgia. Got the call. I said, hey, man, this is happening. Would you be interested? Love to have you up for an interview. And I said, of course. Came up for an interview. I was hired at Young Harris, and the rival, I was hired there. And great experience with the legend, Kathy Brown, over there. Got to see a different culture as well. And it was interesting always speaking with our rivals, which I was there, so it wasn't a rival, it was my home since it's my alma mater as well. But it was good,
Sure.
Good insight, get to speak with Marky day in, day out, good experience. But even then, I was living in Dahlonega, so I'm driving over the mountain, having to pass University of North Georgia daily, and I would even drop in and stop and speak with Coach Paris sometimes, and he'd be like, oh, that purple does not look good on you. On my way to work or coming home from it, just like, hey man, just stop by, say hello, and we had some good chats there. So it was definitely, it's an interesting dynamic. Lots of love there, but bleed blue now here at North Georgia.
And you know what an interesting perspective, though, to have been literally on both sides of the Battle of Blood Mountain.
Yes.
As a competitor, on both sides as a coach, and as you went back and forth with your daily commute, you battled Blood Mountain
Yes.
every day to
Daily.
and from.
Yes, I did. 40 miles over that mountain every day.
The athletic department has such a phenomenal reputation, and well-deserved, when you look at the family feel.
Yes.
Talk about that and how that has been interesting from your perspective.
Of course, I would say from a relationship standpoint, the family feel standpoint, the backing that we get from administration, our peers, from other coaches as well, I would say it's unmatched. It's a feeling as well that as an assistant coach is difficult for your next phase, because you get, FOMO, to where you think it's a fear of missing out, because it's beautiful as it is, it's a great setup as it is, culture's phenomenal, and it's only getting better. And it's one of those scenarios that you just feel something great, it's about to be unlocked here, and you don't want to miss out on that as an assistant. You want to be a part of that, where you're like, man, the code's about to be broken here, and men's soccer's about to do something special, and you just want to be a part of it. That's how good the culture is here.
Well, it's obvious that you are a phenomenal ambassador for soccer for the university. Obviously, it has been a pleasure for you personally and professionally, I would assume, working alongside Coach Paris.
Yes.
Talk about that dynamic.
Oh man, it is awesome. Tons of learning from Coach Paris. He's been a phenomenal mentor. If you speak with the guy, he's as sharp as they come, as organized as they come as well. So the great thing about him is I've got to be with him since his first year coaching. I was his first recruit, so I got to see the young Coach Paris, right, to now the more composed Coach Paris, who now has seen the game for a long time, and we've been through a lot together, to where we've seen some ups and downs, and by the end of the day, I get to watch him and study how he acts in those moments. And phenomenal as far as staying the course, keeping the vision. Not many assistants get to see that wave and learn from that and say, wow, this is how I'm going to do things when we're in these moments. Here's what I'm going to do when we're in these moments, if we're down, if we're up. And I got to see the wave of that, and he's handled himself in a phenomenal way throughout, and has been a phenomenal mentor for me over these past couple of years.
And obviously that will serve you well in the short and long term. I tend to gravitate toward one standard question as we begin to wind up our visit. During your time here, both as a competitor, as a student, and now as a coach,
Yes.
if you could pick
Yes.
one or two moments or memories that stand out above the others, what would they be?
I would say as a player, back in, I believe it was 07, I just got here. Lander were the big dogs back then, had no idea who they were. They hadn't been scored on all season. I think they had something absurd, 10 shutouts. I believe they were number 7 in the country. And I had scored 2 goals on them, and everyone was like, man, do you realize?
What
And
you
we
did.
won the game 2-0. I said, I have no idea. It's just another opponent to play. And they were like, man, this is our rival. This is this. So as a player, that's one of my standout moments. And as a coach, I would have to say 2017, making it to the Peach Belt Finals. I mean, that was an experience. If you could write a book on it, to where everything just felt right going into playoffs, to where Coach Parrish walked in and he said, you think I need to say much to the boys? I'll never forget it. I said, I don't believe so. And he said, I agree. They're ready. And it was very short and sweet, less is more. He felt great, said the boys are ready to play. And you go out to it, and they won those games to get to the finals, and even knocking off Young Harris, who were 12th in the country.
I love it.
To get to the finals. You couldn't have painted the picture any better. Disheartening at the end. We lost it in the PKs, but what an experience and a moment I'll never forget to be there, because once you get that taste, you only want more of it, and I feel we will get more of it, hopefully in the future.
Without question. And knowing that you were there on the cusp
Yes.
of that championship means that without question the groundwork has been laid.
Yes, yes.
It has been laid. We appreciate you, what you've done for the program, the university, and thank you so much for being a part now of Nighthawk All-Access.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Stay with us. Back in a moment.
The UNG Bookstore is the one-stop shop where students can get anything they need for the classroom, and fans can find everything they need to support the Nighthawks, from shirts and jackets to car decals and tailgating chairs. Gear up at the Nighthawks desk with officially licensed UNG merchandise. Be sure to shop in store to find the item of the week. Visit our stores in Dahlonega, Gainesville, Oconee, and Cumming, or check us out online at ungbookstore.com. The UNG Bookstore is a proud sponsor of North Georgia Athletics.
Shop, play, and stay in Dahlonega, the heart of the North Georgia mountains.
UNG Nighthawks All-Access continues, and as always is the case each year when we have time to look at some of the highlights around the Department of Athletics, without question, the annual Operation Nighthawks of Honor initiative is at the top of that list. This year's honoree is Colonel Gerald Lord, who spent 30 years in service to our country, a long tradition there. Let's take a look at some highlights of his honor tonight. phenomenal honor for Colonel Lord, and without question, it is highlight of the year in the Department of Athletics. Stay with us. Nighthawks All Access continues in just a moment.
It takes more than intelligence and talent to succeed in life. It takes grit and a commitment to excellence.
It takes the willingness to serve others and a cause greater than yourself.
It requires you to push boundaries
Ask difficult questions.
and understand the world around you
It requires you to know your strengths.
and weaknesses, and have the desire to make yourself better than you were yesterday.
It requires you to be independent, efficient, and tolerant.
Ultimately, it requires you to be a leader. At the University of North Georgia, we develop leaders,
Leaders who serve our country abroad to tackle the challenges of the world.
and leaders who serve at home to improve our way of life.
Leaders who never quit.
Leaders who lead by example and not exception.
Leaders who are tough, but fair.
Leaders who are relentless and passionate.
Leaders who solve problems and don't make excuses.
Leaders who do the right thing, even when no one's looking.
There's nothing average about the University of North Georgia and its Corps of Cadets.
If you've got what it takes, then bring it.
Nighthawks All Access continues, and now my favorite segment of each episode, our Nighthawk Spotlight, and we're visiting obviously with someone in the world of tennis. Ryan Gaskin, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's already been a great start to the tennis season. You know, just looking at the results, some very impressive match results already, and I know you guys are going to be busy. Talk a little bit about the season as it has happened to this point.
We just got started. We're 4 games in, I think. We've had a couple of postpones and cancels because of the rain and stuff, which is a little frustrating. But we're 4 in, 3-1, so it's an okay start. And the team's gelling good. We've seen some good performances. We go again this weekend. We got Tusculum on the road, and we got a nice looking schedule coming up. So yeah, all good.
Very good. And of course, Ryan is in his junior year here at North Georgia. If you could probably guess by the accent, not from around here, you made the jump from across the pond, from England. What brought you to North Georgia?
Well, a lot of tennis players back in Europe really try and get out here for the opportunities. I mean, so the education is good and the scholarship opportunity is really good. So I mean, that's a main pull, the fact that we can continue playing our sport and getting that education on the side. You know, it's available to a lot of people. Dahlonega, Georgia in particular, I'm not sure. I mean, I had a few different offers from a few different places. I spoke to Coach on the phone a few times, and he showed me around the facility a little bit. I did a bit of research, and it just seemed like a really nice place to come and play and spend 4 years. And yeah, I mean, I've loved it so far. I love the atmosphere I'm living in and everything about it. So yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. Now, what's it been like playing with and under Coach Norsworthy?
Coach is great. Yeah, he's made things really easy, sort of coming over. I mean, Dahlonega is pretty different to where I'm from. Sure. So there was a bit of a transition period getting used to my surroundings, but no, he made it really easy. The training's been great. You know, he's really helped me develop my game. I can see I've made really big strides in my years of being here. So yeah, he's been really great to work with. Yeah.
What is it like finding that balance between your challenges from an athletic standpoint, academic, finding that happy medium? Talk about that.
I mean, to be honest, I struggled when I first got here. The system's a little bit different, schooling-wise, and when I first got here, my first semester, I was sort of out of it a little bit educationally, and like, you know, there was a bunch of different classes I hadn't really done before, that sort of thing, and balancing that with this also new tennis system. You know, it was pretty tough at first, but I mean, that's when Coach was really helpful as well. You know, he got me on board with that. he made sure I was getting through my classes okay, and gave me little tips when was needed, and I'm balancing it a lot better now. And now I've sort of found a nice niche with my education, something I can work towards. So coach has been a big help with that, and now I feel good with it.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit more about that. As we were visiting before we began, you had shared that journalism is a long-term goal, something that you have an interest in. When did you know that that was something that you might be interested in?
I've always been interested in sports, ever since I was a little kid. It's not just tennis, I'm a big fan of a lot of different sports. And I get it sounds simple, but I've always loved writing, and the English class when I was a kid, I loved that. So I paired them together, and writing about sports seems really exciting to me, and then the reporting aspect side of things, that sort of thing. It's always seemed really interesting to me. So now, since I've been over in America, it's sort of the interest has developed a bit more, because there's a lot of different opportunities in America in the journalism world that aren't really there in England. Sports in America are a little bit bigger. Sure. And I wasn't really used to that, but it's sort of given me a lot of opportunities in that world. And now I'm just full steam ahead with the journalism, and I really want to get started with it.
That's fantastic. So obviously you would have an interest from a tennis standpoint. I know you're a big soccer fan. In a perfect world, what sport or what setting would you find yourself in professionally from a journalism standpoint?
I wouldn't want to be too picky, I'd like to be employable, but
you're flexible.
Yeah. But tennis, obviously, I know the game. I love the game. I played it for so long. Soccer, as you mentioned, I've been a fan of that ever since I was a little kid, and basketball as well. I do a lot of basketball writing. Right. Those are probably my three main ones I'd like to stick to. I feel like I know the best, but as you said, I'll take any sport to start up with. I'm not too. I
know you're a Man U fan, and Wayne Rooney, one of your favorite professional athletes. From a tennis standpoint, who do you follow?
My favorite players have always been Andy Murray. Obviously a big part of it is he's British, and he was every little kid in Britain playing tennis. He was the hero they looked up to, and the fact he won the first Grand Slam for so long, and he did all these things. He competed with the best. So, Murray has always been the one I looked up to. I tried to base my game off him. I tried to play in a similar way. Attitude-wise, how passionate he is, the way on court. I try to be like that, Murray's always been a favorite of mine. That
is great. Obviously, when we talk about tennis, your game has developed tremendously in your time here at Dahlonega. Looking at your match results already this season, with your wins, they've been decisive, 6-1, 6-2. Talk about, from the mental standpoint, the advantage of getting up early in a match. It's huge. Yeah, it really is. That's something when I first came to college, I struggled with a little bit. I've always been good in match, adjusting to the different situations. But when you first get on court, and it's that initial okay, do I need to do this now? I always struggled sort of being calm in that right moment or aggressive in that right moment, that sort of thing. But this season I've seen a big improvement of that. A couple of the singles matches I've started really strong, got up early, and I don't know, obviously I've been here for a few years, so I feel a bit more mature on a tennis court now, and I feel like now, once I get that lead and hold that lead, I'm able to just sort of stick it out from there, and I don't sort of lapse back into habits I would have done before. Absolutely. By the way, congratulations are in order for Ryan, named the 2019 ITA Southeast Region Player to Watch. You were the Nighthawk of the Week last year, and also Peach Belt Conference Player of the Week. Congratulations for those. Obviously, we tend to talk more about the singles competition, but doubles is a huge part of collegiate tennis. Talk about that. I've always been comfortable on the doubles court. I've always enjoyed the prospect of playing doubles as well as singles. Doubles is huge in college matches, because the system has changed a little bit ago. So now you're not scoring the whole 3 doubles matches. It's just whoever wins 2 out of 3 gets that 1 doubles point, and that sort of ramped up the importance of that first doubles point. Going into the singles, that slender, that little slender lead, you need 1 less singles match to win the match. So it's it's really huge, and
doubles is sometimes a completely different sport to the singles because, you know, the energy is different, there's so much more noise, it's very quick, it's just a 6 games, so I mean, yeah, it's really, really big, and it's something we take really seriously.
And then finding that synergy with your doubles partner obviously is a huge part of that, so that it's nothing you have to think about. You just know what's gonna transpire. You may have mentioned a moment ago finding the right spots to be a little bit more aggressive, and having never, and my fault for never having been able to witness any of the tennis competitions here. How often do you enjoy going to the net when you're playing?
I like playing up at net, yeah. Whenever I can get there, I will try to. I feel pretty skilled at the net, you know, I win a lot of my points there. But, you know, it just differs on the matchup you've got. I tend to win a lot of the matches as well at the back of the court. I'm pretty fast, you know, I can get to a lot of balls. So, you know, if I'm playing the bigger guys hitting harder than me, then I'll sort of try and stay at the back. But if I've got the opportunity to get up to the net, yeah, I will try to, yeah.
That's great. One of the interesting things in looking at Ryan's bio was that you listed something that you might not know about yourself, and that was that you've spent quite a bit of time in Spain the last 4 years. How did that transpire?
Well, I had a coach, Dan Kiernan, when from around the age of 8 or 9 or something. And at that point, so he coached me for a few years, and at that point he moved out to Spain with his family and started up a tennis academy. It was called Soto Tennis Academy, right down the south. And yeah, he went with that for a few years, and it was going good. And I think I'd probably just turned 14. And Dan got in touch with me and said, we'd love to have you over here if you want to give it a shot. And I mean, yeah, like a 14-year-old kid, you know, sort of, yeah, I'm going to jump at the chance to go and live in Spain, you know what I mean? So yeah, I went for it, and I moved out there in the August of that year, and I never really left. I was there for probably like 4.5 years, and yeah.
That's exciting. That is exciting. Well, as we look at this season here with the Nighthawks, obviously very high aspirations for the team collectively. Talk about that, and when you look at the competitive nature of the Peach Belt Conference.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, our conference is very high standard, so we won't be able to take any matches off. You know, we've got to be there every match day and also every practice day. You know, it's we've been working very hard ever since August when we got our new players in, and you know, training really started. So yeah, we know what it takes to. We know what we're going to have to do to beat those top teams and be where we want to be at the end of the year. And I feel like we started in pretty good fashion. We got some tough matches ahead with those conference opponents later in the season. But no, I feel good. Everyone knows what it's going to take and how we're going to need to play to beat those guys. You know, now it's just about getting out and doing it.
Well, we wish you the very best. We look forward to following the results of you individually, collectively as a team, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It is a great start that the team is off to. Best wishes with the upcoming part of the schedule, and thanks so much for being our Nighthawk Spotlight.
No worries, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Very good. All Access continues in just a moment.
With Red Rooster Realty. Fall is right around the corner, and it doesn't get any prettier than this. Have you been thinking about buying in Georgia's Lake and Mountain Paradise? Give me a call at 770-480-4777.
Well, thanks again for joining us on another episode of UNG Nighthawks All-Access. Big thanks to Coach Avram Allen. Big thanks to Ryan Gaskin, and of course, a great look back at Nighthawks of Honor. As always, a highlight of the season. On behalf of everyone with the show, I'm Craig Corbin. We'll see you next time right here on Nighthawks All-Access.